Arman was 21 years old. He worked as a delivery boy for a small logistics company in his town. Every morning at 8 a.m., he wore his blue company jacket, picked up his helmet, and started his motorbike. His job was simple: collect packages from the warehouse and deliver them to different shops, offices, and homes across the city. The sun was often hot, the roads were dusty, and traffic was loud and stressful. Some days he delivered more than 30 packages. Some days he rode for hours without rest. At the end of the month, his salary was small. It was just enough to help his family, but never enough to change their life. Arman's father worked as a security guard at night. His mother stayed at home and took care of his younger sister. Money was always tight. Sometimes they delayed paying bills. Sometimes his mother quietly chose cheaper food at the market. Arman noticed these small sacrifices. He never complained about his job, but deep inside he wanted more. Not just for himself, for his family. Every day, Arman delivered packages to his own company's main office. The office building had large glass doors and bright lights inside. The employees wore clean shirts and formal shoes. They worked at computers, answered phone calls, and sat in comfortable chairs. Whenever Arman entered to drop off documents, he felt something different. The air inside was cool. The environment was calm. People spoke politely and confidently. He would place the package on the front desk, say, "Delivery for the operations department," and quickly leave. But before leaving, he always looked around. He watched the office manager giving instructions. He saw employees typing emails and discussing plans. He noticed how they were respected by others. And every time he walked out of the glass door and returned to his motorbike, a quiet thought appeared in his mind. One day, I will work inside that office. He never told anyone about this dream. It felt too big. He was just a delivery boy. He had no degree in business, no special connections, no savings. But still, whenever he stood outside the building and looked at his reflection in the glass door, he imagined something different. He imagined wearing a formal shirt, sitting at a desk, giving instructions instead of receiving them. The engine of his motorbike would start again, and reality would return. But the dream stayed alive. And deep inside, Arman knew one thing. He did not want to ride that motorbike forever. For many months, Arman kept his dream to himself. He believed it was safer that way. But one afternoon, while sitting with other delivery drivers behind the warehouse, the conversation changed everything. They were drinking tea after a long day, talking about traffic, low salaries, and difficult customers. One driver complained, "We will be doing this job until we are old." Another laughed and said, "Yes, this jacket is our uniform for life." Without thinking too much, Arman spoke quietly but clearly. "I don't want to do this forever," he said. The others looked at him. "One day, I want to work inside the office, maybe even become a manager." For a moment, there was silence. Then laughter exploded around him. "Manager," one of them said loudly. "Delivery boys don't become managers." Another added, "You need connections for that, or a big degree, not a helmet and a motorbike." Even a senior driver named Rashid, who had worked there for 15 years, shook his head slowly. "Listen, Arman," he said in a serious tone. "This job is stable. Don't dream too much. You will only disappoint yourself." The words were heavy. Arman forced a small smile, but inside he felt embarrassed. He wished he had stayed quiet. The laughter continued for a few minutes, then the conversation returned to normal. But for Arman, nothing felt normal anymore. That evening, while riding home, their voices repeated in his mind. "Delivery boys don't become managers. You need connections. Don't dream too much." For a few seconds, doubt entered his heart. Maybe they were right. Maybe he was foolish. When he reached home, his mother was preparing dinner. His father had just returned from his night shift and looked tired. They sat together on the floor, eating simple rice and vegetables. Arman stayed quiet until his father noticed. "You are thinking about something," his father said. Arman hesitated, then told him everything. He explained his dream and the laughter at the warehouse. His father listened carefully without interrupting. After a long pause, he spoke calmly. "Son, nothing is impossible, but nothing is free." Arman looked up. His father continued, "If you want respect, you must earn it. If you want to sit in that office, you must prepare yourself. People laugh at big dreams because they don't want to work for them." The room was quiet. Arman felt something change inside him. The laughter at work still hurt, but his father's words were stronger. Nothing is free. That night, instead of feeling ashamed, he made a decision. If he wanted to walk through those glass doors as an employee one day, he would have to become worthy of that position. And starting tomorrow, he would begin preparing himself. The next morning, nothing looked different. The warehouse was noisy. Packages were heavy. Traffic was still chaotic. Arman still rode his motorbike under the hot sun. But something inside him had changed. He was no longer just working for his monthly salary. He was working for his future. His daily routine was exhausting. He left home at 7:30 a.m. and often returned after 6 p.m. His back hurt from sitting on the motorbike for hours. His hands smelled like dust and fuel. Some days he felt so tired that even removing his helmet felt like hard work. Before, he would eat dinner and immediately lie down to sleep. But now, he had made a promise to himself. After dinner, while his sister watched television and his parents rested, Arman opened his old second-hand laptop. The screen was slightly cracked, and the battery did not last long, but it worked. He searched for free business courses online. He did not understand everything at first. Words like operations management, logistics planning, and customer service strategy sounded complicated. But instead of feeling discouraged, he wrote them down in a small notebook. He also realized something important. Most office communication was in English: emails, reports, software. If he wanted to sit inside that office one day, he needed to improve his English. So he started watching simple English lessons online. He practiced basic sentences. He repeated phrases quietly in his room. He learned how to write simple professional emails like, "Dear Sir, please find the attached document," and "Thank you for your cooperation." At first, his progress was slow, very slow. Sometimes he read the same paragraph 3 times before understanding it. Sometimes he typed an email draft and deleted it 5 times because it did not look professional. There were nights when his eyes closed while reading. His body wanted rest, but his mind reminded him of the glass office doors. He created a simple schedule for himself: 1 hour for English practice, 1 hour for business basics, 30 minutes learning computer skills like Excel and email formatting. Some nights he could only study for 1 hour before falling asleep. Other nights, he pushed himself until midnight. Then he woke up again at 6 a.m. to start another delivery day. There were moments of doubt. One evening, after making several mistakes while practicing on Excel, he closed the laptop in frustration. "This is too difficult," he whispered. Maybe they were right. But then he remembered the laughter behind the warehouse. He remembered his father's words: "Nothing is free." Instead of quitting, he reopened the laptop. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, small changes began to appear. He could now understand basic business videos without subtitles. He could write short, clear emails. He learned how delivery schedules were planned and how routes were optimized. During his deliveries, he started observing the office more carefully. He listened when managers discussed shipment delays. He noticed how they solved problems. No one at work knew what he was doing at night. To them, he was still just Arman, the delivery boy. But quietly, after long and tiring days, Arman was building something invisible. He was building himself. Months passed, and Arman continued his quiet routine of work during the day and study at night. He felt stronger, more prepared, more aware. But growth is never smooth. And one day, everything changed. It was a Monday morning when the warehouse supervisor called his name. "Arman, this delivery is urgent," he said seriously. "These are legal documents for a corporate client. They must arrive before 12 p.m., no delay." Arman looked at the package carefully. It was sealed tightly and marked "Priority." He nodded confidently. "I understand." He checked the address twice. It was in the business district, an area with many similar-looking office buildings. Traffic was heavy that morning. Construction had blocked one of the main roads, and Arman had to take a longer route. He kept checking the time. 10:45 a.m., then 11:10 a.m. Pressure slowly built inside him. When he arrived at the business district, he parked quickly and looked at the building number. It matched the number on the package. Without overthinking, he went inside, handed the envelope to the receptionist, got a signature, and rushed back to his motorbike. He felt proud. He had delivered it before noon. 2 hours later, his phone rang. It was the warehouse supervisor. "Arman, where did you deliver the priority package?" His voice sounded tense. "To the address on the label," Arman replied confidently. There was a short silence. Then the supervisor said, "The client just called. They never received it." Arman's heart dropped. "What? I delivered it. I got a signature." "Come back to the office immediately," the supervisor said coldly. When Arman returned, the atmosphere inside the office was different. Serious. Tense. The operations manager was standing near the desk, holding a printed document. "Arman," he said sharply, "you delivered the package to the wrong company. Same building number, different street." Arman felt the blood drain from his face. He had missed one small detail in the address. The street name was similar, but not identical. In his rush to beat the deadline, he had not double-checked carefully enough. The manager continued, louder this time. "Do you understand what this means? Those documents were for a legal case. The client needed them today. Now the company may face penalties." Other employees were watching. Some whispered quietly. Arman felt every pair of eyes on him. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "It was my mistake." "Sorry is not enough," the manager replied firmly. "This is not a small error." The receptionist handed over the signed paper Arman had collected. It clearly showed the wrong company name. His signature was there. His responsibility. Rumors spread quickly through the warehouse. Drivers looked at him differently. Some shook their heads. One whispered, "He wants to be a manager but can't even read an address properly." The words hurt more than the manager's voice. That evening, Arman sat alone in the warehouse parking area long after his shift ended. The sun was setting, but he did not move. Fear filled his chest. What if they fire me? What if I lose this job? What if they are right about me? For months, he had been building confidence quietly. But in one day, it felt like everything had collapsed. The glass office doors no longer looked welcoming. They looked far away again. And for the first time since he started dreaming, Arman felt truly afraid. That night, Arman could not sleep. He kept replaying the mistake in his mind. He could clearly remember the moment he stood in front of the building. He had seen the number. He had been in a hurry. He had not checked the street name carefully. The truth was simple. The mistake was his. But another voice inside him whispered something different. "You can blame the traffic. You can say the address was confusing. You can say the receptionist accepted it without checking. No one saw exactly what happened. Maybe you can protect yourself. For a few minutes, that idea felt comforting. If he blamed the situation, maybe the manager would be less angry. Maybe his coworkers would stop talking. But then he remembered something deeper. If he wanted to work inside that office one day, he needed trust, and trust is built on honesty, not excuses. He also remembered his father's words, "Nothing is free. Respect is not free. Responsibility is not free. They must be earned." The next morning, before anyone called him, Arman walked directly into the manager's office. His hands were slightly shaking, but his voice was steady. "Sir," he said, "I want to speak about yesterday." The manager looked up, serious and quiet. Arman continued, "I checked the building number, but I did not carefully check the street name. I was in a hurry. It was my responsibility. The mistake is mine." There was silence in the room. The manager watched him closely. Arman took a deep breath and added, "I know the company may lose money because of this. I am ready to stay late, unpaid, to help fix the situation. I will contact the wrong company and try to recover the documents. I will do whatever is necessary." The manager did not respond immediately. Instead, he leaned back in his chair. "Most people would blame someone else," he said slowly. "You are admitting it was your fault." Arman nodded. "Yes, sir," because it was. That day, Arman worked harder than ever. He contacted the wrong office politely and explained the situation. He personally went back to retrieve the documents. He apologized to the client through a carefully written message. He stayed 2 extra hours, helping the operations team reorganize urgent deliveries to reduce further delays. No one told him to do it. He chose to. Some coworkers were surprised. Rashid, the senior driver who once discouraged him, watched quietly. One of the office staff whispered, "At least he didn't lie." The receptionist, who had seen many delivery drivers blame others before, said softly, "That takes courage." The problem was not completely erased, and the company still faced difficulty. But something important changed that day. The manager no longer looked at Arman with anger. He looked at him with attention. The mistake had damaged his reputation for a moment, but his honesty began rebuilding something stronger. For the first time since the error, Arman did not feel small. He felt responsible. And responsibility, he realized, is the first step toward leadership. After the mistake, many people expected Arman to become quieter, maybe even weaker. Some thought he would simply focus on doing the minimum work and avoid attention. But Arman chose a different path. Instead of quitting or feeling sorry for himself, he decided to improve his system. He realized that his mistake was not only about reading an address, it was about rushing. It was about not having a clear process. If he wanted to grow, he needed discipline. The first thing he did was create a small checklist in his notebook. Before every delivery, he would stop for 30 seconds and check 3 things: building number, street name, and company name. Then he added 2 more points: contact number and delivery deadline. It seemed simple, almost too simple, but he forced himself to follow it every single time, even when he was tired, even when traffic was heavy, even when other drivers laughed and said, "Why are you taking so long?" He did not argue. He just followed his system. Within 2 weeks, something interesting happened. While other drivers occasionally returned because of small address errors, Arman did not make a single mistake. His deliveries became more organized. He started planning his route every morning before leaving the warehouse. Instead of driving randomly from one side of town to another, he grouped nearby deliveries together. He remembered the routing software he had studied at night. One evening, he downloaded a free version on his phone and began practicing with it. Soon, his daily deliveries became faster and more efficient. He saved fuel, he saved time, and he arrived at the warehouse earlier than before. One afternoon, Rashid, the senior driver, asked him, "How are you finishing early these days?" Arman showed him his checklist and the routing app. At first, Rashid looked skeptical, but after seeing the results, he said quietly, "Maybe I should try that too." Arman began helping other drivers organize their schedules. He showed them how to sort packages by area. He explained how to double-check addresses quickly. He never acted superior. He simply shared what he had learned. Inside the office, the operations manager started noticing small changes. Delivery reports were more accurate. Fewer clients complained about delays. One day, the manager called Arman inside and asked, "Have you changed something in your routine?" Arman explained his checklist and routing method clearly. The manager listened carefully. "Interesting," he said. "Very interesting." Over the next few weeks, the manager asked Arman to help update the standard delivery procedure for all drivers. It was not a promotion. It was not a new title. But it was something important. It was trust. The glass office doors no longer felt so far away. People in the warehouse stopped talking about his mistake. Instead, they began talking about his discipline. The same coworkers who once laughed at his dream now asked him for advice. Arman understood something powerful. Reputation is not rebuilt with words. It is rebuilt with actions repeated every day. Quietly, without announcements, without praise, he was growing. And this time, the growth was visible. A few months after the mistake, something unexpected happened. One Monday morning, the warehouse felt different. Employees were whispering near the office entrance. Arman parked his motorbike and asked another driver, "What happened?" The driver replied, "The operations assistant resigned this morning. He found another job. They need someone to handle office calls and update delivery records, but there's no replacement yet." Arman felt a small spark inside his chest. The operations assistant's job was inside the office. He answered customer calls, updated shipment data, and helped organize daily schedules. It was not a manager's position, but it was inside. It was close to where decisions were made. Later that morning, the operations manager stepped into the warehouse and said loudly, "We need someone temporarily to help in the office for a few weeks. Just basic computer work and phone calls. Anyone with basic computer skills?" The room became silent. Some drivers avoided eye contact. Others shrugged. Office work felt intimidating to them. Arman's heart began beating faster. This was the moment he had imagined many times. But fear immediately followed. What if I fail? What if they realize I am not ready? What if they laugh again? For a few seconds, he almost stayed quiet. Then he remembered the long nights of studying, the English practice, the Excel exercises, the routing systems. He had prepared for this, even if no one knew. He raised his hand. "I can try, sir," he said calmly. The manager looked surprised. "You?" he asked, not in a mocking way, but with curiosity. "Yes, sir. I've been learning computer skills and basic operations planning. I can help until you find someone permanent." The manager studied him for a moment. He remembered Arman's honesty after the delivery mistake. He remembered the new checklist system. Finally, he nodded. "All right. You can start this afternoon. Let's see how you handle it." When Arman walked toward the glass office doors that afternoon, it felt different from all the previous times. Before, he had entered for a few seconds and left quickly. Now, he walked in with purpose. The air felt cooler. The lights seemed brighter. He removed his delivery jacket and placed it neatly on a chair. For the first time, he sat at a desk inside the office. His hands were slightly shaking as he turned on the computer. The screen displayed the company's operations software. He took a deep breath and reminded himself, "I prepared for this." The first phone call came within 10 minutes. "Good afternoon. This is City Logistics," he answered carefully, using the English phrases he had practiced at night. His voice was steady. He noted down the customer's complaint clearly and updated the delivery record in the system. Throughout the day, he handled calls, entered shipment data, and helped organize the next day's routes. He made small mistakes at first, but he corrected them quickly. He asked questions when he was unsure instead of pretending to know everything. When the workday ended, the operations manager walked past his desk and said simply, "Not bad, Arman." It was a short sentence, but for Arman, it meant everything. The glass doors were no longer just something he looked at from outside. He was inside, and this time, he belonged there. The next few days became a true test for Arman. Sitting inside the office was one thing. Proving he deserved to stay there was something completely different. On his second morning at the desk, the phone started ringing continuously. One customer was asking about a delayed shipment. Another was requesting a schedule change. A third sounded angry about a missing package. Before, Arman would only hear about these issues from drivers. Now he was the first person responsible for answering them. He spoke calmly. "Good morning, sir. Let me check that for you." He opened the system, searched carefully, and responded clearly. If he did not know the answer, he did not panic. He said, "Please give me a moment while I confirm this," and asked the manager quietly. Customers noticed the difference. His tone was respectful, patient, and confident. Writing emails was another challenge. The manager asked him to respond to a corporate client regarding shipment delays. Arman opened a new message and typed slowly but carefully. "Dear Mr. Hassan, we sincerely apologize for the delay in your shipment. We are currently reviewing the delivery schedule to ensure this does not happen again. Thank you for your patience and understanding." He checked the grammar twice before sending it. When the manager later reviewed the email, he simply nodded. "Clear and professional," he said. As the week continued, Arman began organizing delivery records more efficiently. He noticed that some files were outdated and some driver schedules overlapped, causing confusion. Instead of ignoring it, he created a simple, color-coded spreadsheet to track urgent deliveries, delayed shipments, and completed tasks. It was something he had practiced many nights at home. He presented it to the manager quietly. "Sir, this may help reduce confusion," he explained. The manager looked at the sheet carefully. "You made this?" he asked. Arman nodded. The manager did not smile widely, but his eyes showed approval. One afternoon, a small internal problem appeared. Two drivers were arguing about overlapping routes, both claiming they had been assigned the same delivery area. The tension was rising. Arman quickly checked the updated spreadsheet and realized the issue came from an old template that had not been revised. Calmly, he suggested adjusting the route assignments and explained the logic clearly. The conflict ended within minutes. The staff began noticing something. The delivery boy, who once stood quietly near the warehouse, was now solving office problems. The receptionist whispered to another employee, "He's very organized." Even Rashid, who had once laughed at his dream, looked at him differently. At the end of the second week, the manager called Arman into his office. "You adapted quickly," he said. "Not everyone can move from the field to the desk this smoothly." Arman felt a quiet pride inside him. This was more than temporary work now. This was momentum. And for the first time, the idea of becoming more than just an assistant no longer felt impossible. It felt realistic. Months passed, and Arman continued working inside the office. What started as a temporary position slowly became something more stable. He still helped with deliveries when needed, but most of his time was now spent managing schedules, answering client calls, and improving internal systems. He did not ask for a promotion. He did not remind anyone of his dream. He simply focused on doing his work well every single day. One morning, the manager announced that there would be a company meeting in the main office hall. All drivers and office staff were asked to attend. Arman felt curious but calm. He stood at the back of the room beside the other drivers, unsure why everyone had been called together. The manager stepped forward and began speaking about company growth, improved delivery times, and increased client satisfaction over the past months. "We have reduced errors," he said. "We have improved efficiency, and we have built stronger trust with our customers." Then he paused and looked around the room. "There is one person whose effort has made a noticeable difference," he continued. "Someone who started from the field, made mistakes, learned from them, and showed responsibility and leadership." Arman felt his heart beating faster. The manager spoke clearly. "We are promoting Arman to Junior Operations Supervisor, effective next month." For a moment, the room was silent. Then quiet applause began. Some drivers looked surprised. A few exchanged glances. Rashid, the senior driver who once laughed at Arman's dream, clapped slowly but sincerely. The receptionist smiled proudly. Arman stood frozen. Junior Operations Supervisor. The words felt unreal. Just months ago, he had been publicly scolded for a delivery mistake. Now he was being trusted with supervision and planning. He walked forward to shake the manager's hand. "Thank you for trusting me," he said humbly. "I will continue to give my best." That evening, he went home earlier than usual. His father was sitting outside, as always. Arman sat beside him and quietly said, "Baba, I have good news." When he explained the promotion, his father did not speak immediately. Instead, he placed his hand firmly on Arman's shoulder. "I told you," he said softly, "nothing is free, but hard work pays." Inside the house, his mother smiled with tears in her eyes. His sister hugged him tightly. Arman looked at his old delivery jacket hanging near the door. He did not feel embarrassed by it. He felt grateful, because that jacket was where his journey began. A few weeks after his promotion, the company organized a small appreciation event for the staff. It was not a big ceremony, just a simple gathering in the warehouse with tea and snacks. The manager spoke about teamwork and improvement, then surprised Arman again. "Before we finish," he said, "I would like Arman to say a few words. Many of our younger staff can learn from his journey." Arman did not prepare a speech. He stood in front of the drivers and office workers, some of whom had known him only as the quiet delivery boy. For a second, he remembered the day they laughed at his dream, but he did not feel anger. He felt gratitude. He spoke slowly and clearly. "When I started here, I was just a delivery driver. I made mistakes. One of them was serious. I felt embarrassed and small. But that mistake taught me something important. Running away from responsibility is easy. Accepting it is difficult. But growth begins when we accept our mistakes." The room was silent. "I also learned that improvement does not happen in one day. It happens in small daily actions. Study a little more. Check your work carefully. Help others when you can. Be honest, even when it costs you something." He paused and looked at the drivers standing in the back. "Some of you know that I once said I wanted to work inside the office. People laughed. But I understood something. Nothing is free. Respect is not free. Skill is not free. Opportunity is not free. You must prepare for it before it arrives." He took a breath and finished simply. "Start where you are. Use what you have. Improve every day. If you fall, stand up stronger. Hard work does not always give quick results, but it always builds character, and character builds your future. The applause was louder this time. Arman stepped down from the front, not as the boy who once stood outside the glass doors with a dream, but as a leader who had earned his place step by step. His journey proved something simple but powerful. Nothing is free, but everything can be earned.